Have you ever just woke up one day and thought, I can't do this anymore? The universe isn't just out there, it's interacting with you. Claim your power by embracing the unknown. This is Tracy with Tracy Talks, and I'm here to ignite your curiosity. Don't just listen, embrace it. So I've been gone for a couple of weeks, and it wasn't a planned hiatus. It was a matter of I simply woke up one day and I felt like I had hit a wall. I didn't have access to my creativity. I have been trying to listen to my inner voice, my intuition, my higher self, whatever you want to call it. I've been trying to connect with that and follow that. So much of my life has been about this process of doing things because I should do them. I have been living life because those were the beliefs and the behaviors and the thoughts that were instilled upon me from an early age. And they were a very rigid set of rules that these are the things that you have to do. If you do these things, then that means you're a good person. And I have been deconditioning myself over the last few years of these rigid, arbitrary rules that don't really seem to matter. They don't impact my quality of life. That these arbitrary rules have created this false sense of self and why I'm here. And so I've been really trying to develop and strengthen and connect to this part of me that is on its own rhythm and cycle and expression. And so I had been recording on a regular basis, and it felt very natural. It felt fairly easy for the most part. And yet one day the valve of energy, the creativity literally just shut off. And the old Tracy would have been feeling bad about herself because when you are conditioned early on that you have to do these things and you have to do these things every single day. And if you don't do them, then you aren't a good person. So much of my self-worth has been intertwined with these stupid little rules that don't really matter in the end. And the old Tracy would have felt bad about not recording. The old Tracy would have felt like she had failed because she didn't record. And the old Tracy would have felt guilty. And a lot of that I trace back to early on when so much of the structure of my life was in this container of, and I like to call it when adults like to shape children, and at times there are behaviors that show up in children. And I call them undesirable behaviors because we want the behaved child. We want the child who, can control their emotions and they can participate in interactions in the way that we want them to. And then there's these undesirable behaviors where they act out, they say things that we don't like, they do things that we don't like. And so what do we do when that happens is we then try to change those behaviors. And so much of my life felt like there was shame and guilt that was applied upon me, so I wouldn't do those things that somebody didn't want me to do. And what's great is, and that's with enormous amounts of sarcasm, is even though then I become an adult, I still then start applying those same shame and guilt tactics on myself. That the adults are no longer doing it, but I have taken over that role. And so when I stopped recording, there was a moment where I realized that I wasn't doing that to myself. I wasn't feeling bad. I wasn't putting guilt on myself. I wasn't feeling shame and embarrassment, which is something the 30-something-year-old Tracy would do. And it's interesting in life because we're on this journey and we're just going every day. If you're like me, you have goals that you want to work towards. And this isn't anything new, but oftentimes we don't see how far we progress in the everyday mundane schedules. And it isn't until we reflect back on where we were 6 months ago or where we were a year ago. And it's not until we get farther down the path that we actually do see how much we've grown and how far we've come. And that's what this period has been for me, where it was like the creativity stopped, the water shut off, the flow shut off. And it wasn't this panic sense. It wasn't this, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? What, I can't do it. And what is everybody going to think? And what is everybody going to, what are they going to think? And I have failed everybody. And all of this guilt that typically would have come up, and it didn't. And it's in these type of moments where we can look around and go, wow, I am growing. I am changing. I am healing. That message didn't just come to me immediately. I just allowed that message to surface on its own. I didn't force it. I didn't try to go, what is happening here? With my logical brain, why can't I do this? Why don't I have access to this? And I simply just allowed the information to come to me when I could receive it. I'm going to call these last few months of recordings as season 1. I'm going to probably take another week or so to reflect on what season 2 is going to be about. And some of that's just going to be in the basic structure of, do I want to continue daily? Do I want to change the topics? What do I want to do? What feels natural for me? What is wanting to be expressed through me, and how is that going to be shaped, and in what type of container is that going to be? I will be back soon with more Tracy Talks. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tracy Talks. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. Friends can find Tracy Talks available on iTunes, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. Hit me up on Instagram and Facebook at more Tracy Talks. And until next time, we meet again.